Okay, in this video, we are going to learn some interactive features of InDesign, some things that I've gone over in class already, but this is going to be a formal assignment that I'm going to ask you to create. It's going to cover animation, creating object states, and creating buttons to trigger those object states. It's a very dynamic feature. These are dynamic features of InDesign that create very exciting and interactive publications, e-publications, electronic publications for online usage. And so let's get right to it. Let me share the screen here. I'm in InDesign right now, and this is what we're going to create. We're going to create a e-publication page or e-brochure for Porsche. And I used this example in class the other day, so you should be familiar with it. And what we did was we created buttons that triggered these cars, and we're going to do a little bit of the same, but we're going to do a little bit more, because not only are we going to trigger the cars from coming in, we're also going to trigger this text from appearing. So I've laid this out. Let me show you what the final result is going to be. I have my digital publishing palette configurations up here, so I'll just click on one of them and go to the EPUB preview. And so this is the way it loads. The red car, or the Carrera, loads first. As I roll over these small thumbnails at the bottom, you can see that they dim out. And when I click and release the mouse, you'll see a new car come in here, and you'll also see a text description for that car change here. So let's do that. And then we see the blue car, the Carrera 4S, do the same thing. So it's a very simple animation and button trigger, but it will create, involve some very specific steps. And whenever you're doing this type of programming, especially when you're, doing it for the web or websites, the programming always takes way longer than the result. The result is really simple. You click on something, comes in, type changes. But to get to that will, be a number of steps. Okay, so we are going to build this from scratch, but I am going to use some shortcuts just to save time in this demonstration here. Okay, the first thing that you want to do is you'll want to have access to the assets. And for the most part, you already have access to these assets because we did this demonstration in class. But if you weren't in class, then you'll need to download this zip folder here. And you'll download the zip folder and unpack it into a folder on your desktop. And inside that folder, you will see that you have the three cars that are going to be used. And then you also have the Porsche logo that's used up here in the upper left. So what I've done is I've set up a second page here. Let me move this down and go to my pages. And also, at any time that you want to speed up this video, in fact, some of you are probably doing that already. When you're watching this in YouTube, you can always watch this video at 2 times speed, twice as fast. And it sounds kind of funny, but it gets through it faster. I can't talk that fast, so you'll have to do it that way. Okay, so I've set up a second blank page here. It's basically an 8.5 by 11 portrait page. Landscape page. I have 1/2 inch margins all around, and that's what we're going to build this project on. So to start, one of the things that you want to do is after you open up this page, go ahead and save it. Save it as the Porsche website page, and then that way, as you're working, you could just do Command S, and keep saving along the way. And that way you won't lose anything. There's wind outside today, so wind has a tendency of cutting power, and when you cut power and you haven't saved, you're in trouble. Okay, so I'm going to open up this file here, and I'm going to grab these assets here, and I'm going to drag them into my page. And I'm just going to kind of spit them out, just kind of click and drag. That's the first one, second one, third one, and the last one. Okay, and just drag them out kind of small. You know, we're going to change the sizes of all of these, and you can see that this one here is much bigger. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of tidy up these boxes. I'm going to just make sure that these are we're not utilizing all this unwanted white space up here. And I'm going to just try and get this gray car here a little bit smaller. Now, in all of this, as I work, I'm clicking and holding so I can see these things reduce in real time rather than just clicking. See, if I just click and do this, all I see is a box. What I want to do is click, hold for a second so I can see the actual car reduce. Okay, and I want to get this where these cars are about the same width. That's pretty good. And this car here, click and hold, okay, so that you can see it move. And that car looks like it's about the same. Okay, so that's fine. These are going to be my 3 buttons, and I might reduce them even more. Here's my Porsche logo. I think I'll make this smaller. Click, hold, and make that smaller, and just kind of roughly position that up here. I'm going to grab these, bring them down here, and then I'm going to duplicate these. Since I have these already, I'm going to duplicate one of them. So I'll hold the Option key down, click on this blue car, bring it up, and I'm going to now make this bigger. Okay, so I'm going to make this car bigger. Okay, something like that. This might not be exactly the same as the example there. I'm going to do the same with the red car. I'm going to hold the Option key down, click, and I'm going to just drag it up here, and then Command and Shift, and click and hold for a second, and then that way you can see the car grow to the size that you want. Okay, so that's fine. And then I'll click on the third one here, hold the Option key down, click and drag a duplicate, and then Command Shift, click, hold, and bring this up to about that size. Okay, this is going to be a little bit, click, hold, and just kind of put that in there. And that looks pretty good. Okay, maybe a little bit smaller here. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to reduce my view in InDesign, and I can use the minus, magnification. I do that by spacebar command and Option, hold all 3 down, and just click a couple of times. And that way I can see the outer sides of my desktop. And you have to be on the working view here. If I was hitting the W key, if I pull out this car, it disappears over here. But if I am in the working view, I can see that car. Okay, so I'm going to pull that car out, and I'm going to click on this one and pull this car out. And so now I have all 3 cars. I also have all 3 cars down here. And I am going to select all of these, and I think I'm going to make all of these a little bit smaller. So I select them all. I grab the corner, Command and Shift again, because I want to proportionally scale this. click hold so I could see them all reduce. And then I'm going to just kind of put these right in there. See that magenta vertical line there? That tells me I'm centered. And that's kind of where I'm at. Okay, this is the actual finished version here. So I've done this, and I have these three cars here. We're going to stack these cars on top of each other and create an object state. What I want to do is I want to create some text descriptions of this car, of each car. Each car will have a different text description. All I'm using is placeholder text. You can see over here, if I zoom into this one, you can see that it's just the name of the car and then placeholder text here. Okay. And I used, if you're wanting to use the same typeface, I use Myriad Pro bold here, 10 point. And then for this text here, I use Myriad Pro light. If you don't have light, just use regular 9 point over 10. Okay. And that's what I did for that. Now, what I did is I made a copy of, I set this up and I made a copy of it and duplicated that copy off and just changed out those. Okay. So I'm going to pause this video, and then when I come back, I'll have the text all set up here. Okay, so one sec. Okay, so I created some text right here in that point size and typeface. I also made this about 60% black so that this is kind of gray. And I want the Carrera. This is the Carrera. This is the Carrera S, and this is the Carrera 4S. And so I want each heading to be the color of the car. So what I'm going to do is highlight this text right here. And I'm going to get my eyedropper tool out over here. And I'm going to select the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on the red of the car here, and that changes that to red. Okay, and then all I did from there is I grabbed this, I hit the Option key and duplicated this text, and duplicate it again, holding the Option key down, duplicate it again, and then I just highlighted this. I just add Carrera S. And that's going to be this gray color. So I'll highlight this. I'll go over to my eyedropper tool, and I'll kind of sample a gray here. Okay, and that changes that to gray. Get back on my text tool, and I'll go over here, and I'll make this 4S, and I'll highlight this, and get the eyedropper tool out, sample the blue of this car here, maybe something like around there, and that changes that to blue. Okay, I know it might be kind of hard to see, but you can see now that that's gray and this is blue. Okay, so I just have some text there. And then I had some generic text that I was going to put on underneath here, because if you see here, I have some generic text right there. And so let me set that up, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I created this text down here. I just duplicated this text and made it centered instead of flush left. Changed the heading to black. This is going to be the same text on every page. So this is going to be permanent. This is just a general description of the Carrera series, but these are going to change every time we hit the buttons. Okay, this text up here. Okay, so I have my three descriptions here, and I have my three cars, and I have my three buttons. Now, all I have to do now is make object states out of the cars and object states out of these three text boxes. Okay, but what I want these cars to do is animate in from the left side. So I'm going to have to apply the animations first, and then I'm going to combine them into a object state. Okay, so just follow me on this. I'm going to go to animation. I'm going to select one of the cars. It doesn't matter which one you select first. And I'm going to choose a preset of fly in from left. Okay, so you can see that arrow making that animation, applying that animation. I'm going to click on the blue car and do the same thing. Okay, fly in from left. Now I'm going to just use the default settings of 1 second. If you wanted to change that, you can make it faster or slower. But for the sake of this demo, I'll just do it this way. Again, I'll choose the gray car and then come down to fly in from left. Okay, so I've got all the animations applied to all 3 cars, and now I'm going to stack them on top of each other. So I'm going to grab the red car and I'm going to stack it right on top of the blue car here and just kind of make sure that that's sitting right there. Okay, that's close enough. And then take the gray car and do the same thing. Click, hold so I can watch it move, and then just kind of position it right in there. Okay, that's good enough. So all 3 cars are stacked on top of each other. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is, actually I want to kind of move that up a little bit. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is select all 3 cars, and just all I have to do is just kind of touch all 3 cars and they all 3 select. I'm going to go over to object states, and we talked about this in the last class, and then I'm going to click create an object state, and you're going to see the 3 cars that are in this group now. Okay, these are, it reads right through, you know, all 3 cars. So I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to call this one the Carrera. And then I'm going to click the second car here, and I'm going to call this the Carrera S. And then the last car here, I'll call this Carrera 4S. Okay, so I have my object group, my object state, and I'm going to call this whole state the main cars. Okay, so I know that this state, because I'm going to create 2 object states. One state is the cars, the other state is going to be the text. Okay, so that's done. Put that away. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is stack my text blocks. So I'm going to bring this text block, select this, and just kind of drag this over and stack it right on top of that. Drag this one. Okay, and stack it right on top of that. And since I made duplicate copies, they all line up. And if they didn't line up, if they were actual text, it really doesn't matter because all you're going to see is that text when you trigger the buttons. Okay, so now that I have all 3 of these text boxes stacked, I want to select all 3. Now I want to make sure I don't select this one here. So I'm just going to kind of touch this corner and all 3 of those text boxes selected. I'm going to go up to object states. Oh, you know what? I want these text boxes to animate. I want them to fade in. Okay, I forgot to do that. So I have to do that before I stack the boxes. Let me undo this and let me select this and go to animation. Okay, and I'm going to choose a fade in. Okay. There is another one. Yeah, fade in is okay. I'll call this fade in. All right. And I'm going to make this fade in at 2 seconds. Okay. A little slower fade in. And then I'm going to go to the next one here, and I'm going to choose a fade in again. Apply that and make that duration 2 seconds. And then I'm going to select the third one and choose that as fade in and make that 2 seconds. Okay. A lot of this again is repetitive, but you know, that's the way it works. Okay. So now I will stack these on top. Okay. Again. And now I'm going to make an object state. all of these have animations applied already. So I'm going to just click the corner there, select them all, go to Object States, add an object state, and you can see now that these three groupings are an object state. Okay, when I click state 1, it's the 4S. So let me label that so I know what it is. Carrera 4S. When I click this one, it's the Carrera S. So I'll do that. Carrera S. And this one is just going to be the Carrera. Okay. Now I know the Carrera is the first one and the Carrera 4S is the last one. So I'm going to just move these down the stacking order. Okay. And there we go. Carrera, Carrera S, Carrera 4S. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. So I want that first one to be the red car. Okay. I'll click on this object state and select that. The red car, the Carrera S, the Carrera 4S. These are in that order. Okay, so I have object states here, and now all I have to do is program the buttons. So let's go down and get our buttons and forms out. Okay, and we're going to use buttons and forms and properties. Remember, in order to make this dim out, we have to have our properties showing. So with buttons and forms out, I'm just going to tear this out and pull this out over here so that I can see both buttons and forms and properties. Now when I click properties, I can see that here. I have buttons and forms over here, so I can work a little bit more efficiently. Okay, let's rearrange these cars. Now the red one is going to be first, the blue one is going to be last. So I'm just going to take this right now and just kind of swap these out here. Okay, and I want to make the spacing the same. Okay, so I want to, there, InDesign tells me that that's the same. I also want to make them all line up, you know, like they're all sitting on the same line. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm going to pull down a guide and stick it right under the tires of this car here. I'm going to click on this and just kind of nudge this down so that car's tire sits on that green line. Same with this. Okay, it's just a little picky thing. And now it looks like they're all sitting on the same line. Okay, and then what I can do is just highlight these and center them. So I'll just kind of hold my shift key down and move it until I get the magenta line. That tells me it's centered. Also this text, I want to center this text and just keep moving. There it is, that's centered, and that's fine. Okay, so my layout right now is looking like that. We'll tweak it, you know, at the end. Okay, let's make a button out of this car here. Okay, so I'm going to select the red car, and I'm going to go to my buttons and forms, and I'm going to make that a button. And then I'm going to name this button, okay, Carrera. Okay, on release or tap, we really don't have to mess with that. The action I want is to go to state. Okay, go to state. Now I created two states here. One was the main cars, and the other one was, oh, I didn't name that state, multi-state. This is the text state. Okay, in fact, let me just do that now. I'm going to select this right here and go back to object states, and or I'm sorry, and I'm going to change this object state from multi-state 6 to you know, car text. Okay, or better yet, car descriptions. Okay, so that's the multi-state. So when I come over to buttons and forms, again, let me do this again. The type is a button. Type is going to be a button. It's going to go to main cars, okay, and the state I want it to affect is the Carrera, the red car, okay, and the rollover is going to dim out 50%. So when I click this rollover, what I do is I bring the cursor down to this car and I double click. Okay, when I open up my properties right here under opacity, I'm going to change that to 50% right there. And you can see how it dimmed out 50%. So now I go back to normal and rollover, normal, rollover. You can see a change right here. And that's why I have two menus out at the same time, because I can go back and forth to these two menus. Okay, so that's fine, but I also want this button to trigger another state. I want it to trigger the text state as well. So again, actions, go to state, and this time the state that I want it to affect is the car descriptions. And I want the state to be the Carrera text, okay, which is fine here. There is no rollover in this, so we don't have to worry. Now this has an animation of fade in, so you'll see that happen when we preview this, okay. So that button is done, and now we'll go to the next button, okay. We'll click this button, and again, we're going to do this repetitively again. We're going to create a button, and I'm going to name this, and I'm going to just go through this as I talk. I'm going to do this in real time because repetition, hearing me repeat this is good for you to remember. The action is going to be to go to state. Okay, it's going to be main cars, only this time it's going to be the Carrera S. Okay, the rollover, and I'm going to double click in here and reduce this over here to 50%. Okay, go back up. And then I'm going to add that second go to state. And this time it's not going to be main cars, but car descriptions. And this time the car description is the Carrera S. Okay, so you can see right here, the actions are two actions. I'm going to trigger this car and this text at the same time. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to select the 4S button, make it a button, label it Carrera 4S, give it the action, go to state. Okay, it's going to go to main cars, only this time it's going to go to Carrera 4S. Rollover is going to be 50%. Okay. And the next thing is go to another state. And this time the state I'm going to is the car descriptions. Only this time it's going to be Carrera 4S car description. Okay. And I'm done. Now, one thing that I want to bring up right now, because it just hit me, is that I have not saved since I started this. And I've done a lot of things. And that's kind of what you don't want to do this. Okay. You don't want to do this much work and not have saved. And so what I should have been doing as I was doing all of this is hitting Command S, Command S, Command S, and saving this along the way. So I'm going to do that, Command S. I've already saved this document, so all I have to do is Command S and I can save it. So now, you know, I'm safe in case the power goes out. Okay, let's test this now. Okay, let's go to one of our EPUB preview buttons, either here or here. I'm going to put the buttons and forms back in here. And let's see what we get. Okay, so that looks good. Rollovers work. Rollover. Let's try this rollover. And that appears also. And try this rollover. and that appears. See how this fades in? Okay, because we added that 2-second fade in. And then we also added in the fly in from left, so we're getting not only that action, but this action as well. Okay. Now that we have all of this working, we're going to, I want to center this in the page, okay? I don't know if you notice, but the layout of this is, although it's centered, it looks like it's too high on the page. There's too much space down here. Okay, so I'm going to tweak this a little bit now, and I'm going to come in with my guides and put a guide maybe right here. I want the top of the Porsche logo to kind of align with the top of this text. I also want the logo to kind of align with the edge of the car right here. Okay, that word Porsche and the edge of the car. I want to kind of bring this text over a little bit if possible. I don't want to get it too close to the car here. I'm going to turn off my guides and kind of take a look. And actually, I want to bring this, hold the shift key down and this, and bring these two up a little bit. And then I want to grab everything and click, hold the shift key down and bring that down until it's kind of centered. See that magenta line that comes out? And then I want to look at that, and that looks pretty good. Okay, from left to right, top to bottom. This looks a little funny, this text right here. And you notice when I come around and help you, I'm always like really tweaking the positioning of text and layouts and space and things. And, things, this is all a balancing act. Okay. So that looks good. The distance between the edge of this, the bottom of this text and these thumbnails seem to work. Again, let me just double check this. That looks good. That looks good. And that looks good. Okay. Now I have 2 pages of this. You'll only have one. Notice here I have 2 pages of the exact same thing because I use second page as an example. Once you have completed this, you're now going to publish this online. Okay, so we talked about that. I have the latest version of InDesign, and when I click share, okay, I don't get those features that you get, that we get in school, the publish online right here. I noticed that this is different in the 2024 version of InDesign. We have 2023 at school. So you can go to File and Publish Online, okay? And that's where I get my Publish Online menu. Okay, Object States Demo, I'm just going to call it that and forget about the description. So I'm going to publish this online. Click Publish. Okay, wait for it to upload. Now this is publishing. I didn't publish just one page. I wasn't paying attention, so it's going to publish both pages here. I'm going to view the document. And the document shows this is page 1, okay? And when I click over here, this is page 2. All I wanted to do is publish one. But anyway, we're looking at it on indd.adobe.com, which is Adobe server, and we're seeing that everything works correctly. Okay, we're getting the right cars coming in, we're getting the right text descriptions and so forth. Okay. So that is the URL here that you will send to, whoever you're needing to send this to, a client or possibly, an email list, an email blast list or something. Okay, so that is, okay, if we go back to InDesign, we have that here. You can copy the URL and you have a copy of that. So that is how we're going to create animations, object states, and buttons to trigger those object states. Okay, this is going to be an assignment I'm going to ask you to recreate, and you'll have the knowledge now to create your own e-publication with animations and object states and all kind of things. Now there's more to this, and so we'll learn more as we go. Okay, you're doing your travel brochures right now, and after you get done with your travel brochures, we're going to do this little exercise. Okay, so that is it. I will see you back in class. Take care.